Good morning, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, members of the House, State, and Federal Relations Committee. For the record, my name is Sharon Carson. I have the pleasure of representing Senate District 14, comprising the towns of Hudson, Londonderry, and Auburn. And I have for your consideration this morning Senate Bill 360 relative to the National Guard education benefits. This bill allows for members of the New Hampshire National Guard to transfer their National Guard tuition waiver benefit to an eligible spouse. When one member of the family serves in the military, we all know that the entire family serves as well. This bill aims to be a recruitment and retention tool for the New Hampshire National Guard while extending benefits to spouses. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to conclude my testimony, and you have the general here from the National Guard who will be able to walk you through just exactly what this is going to do. So I appreciate your time this morning. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, for the record, I'm Major General David Michaelitis, the Adjutant General for the New Hampshire National Guard. So first, I want to explain to you the why behind the what. So why we doing this, and what is the purpose behind this? The New Hampshire Army National Guard is obviously a small state. We're a small state. The 17 smallest states for force structure, the size of our guard, the less than 3,000, right? So the New Hampshire Army National Guard is 1,700 soldiers and 1,100 airmen. Those 1,700 soldiers, when you divide it by our state's population, we are one of the smallest Army National Guards per capita in the country. There's two levers you get to influence. One is accessions, getting the new kids in on the street, and the other one is retention. In this market, the accessions is horrendous for the entire Department of Defense. If you look what's going on, and so I sent out some attachments to just give some recent articles about how the Department of Defense is struggling to fill their formations. The active duty Army cut their end strength, the number of people in their formations, by 12,000 because they know they can't make their numbers this year. The Air Force has come on and says they can't make their numbers. And it's the same thing in the Army National Guard. So we struggle to fill our formations. It's like almost like a modern day militia. It's up to us to fill our formations with those 1,700 soldiers and airmen. The market's just not there. So if you can't influence the sessions, you can try to retain your force, the retention piece. This is a retention a measure, and that's the purpose behind this. So if we get a soldier to come in and he he typically has a 6-year obligation. At the end of 6 years, we're losing about 20% of our force. They finish their college, about 25% of our force joins for the college benefit. So the purpose behind this bill is if you re-enlist after 6 years of service, you can transfer that tuition waiver benefit to your spouse. And it allows your spouse to then attend classes at the community college system of New Hampshire. Community college system in New Hampshire supports it. We work together with them to develop this language. That's why it's a 5-year pilot program, so we can see the benefits or the impact it'll have on the community college system. But we are struggling to fill our formations, and if we can't fill them with new accessions off the street, these high school kids at age 18, we want to try to retain our force. And in order to retain our force, it's all about the spouse, that significant other. In the next 12 months, we'll deploy a third of our force either overseas or to the southwest border. The strain or stressors that it places on a military family are huge and they're significant. So if we retain the spouse to have an impact on their significant other to stay in the service, it is money well spent. Subject to your questions, that's all I have.
Is that on?
Thank you again for taking my question. I was wondering, so in order for them to be, the member's spouse to be eligible, they have to do a 6-year tour of duty, correct? And then they have to do another 4 in the reserves as well? Is that right?
So that soldier or airman will serve typically for their first initial entry service contract is 6 years. If he or she re-enlists beyond that 6 year, like for another 4 or 6 years in the National Guard only, then he or she can transfer to their spouse.
Okay. Follow up?
Yeah, follow up.
So after they've served, then the transfer becomes effective, correct?
Yes.
The second question I had is, at the bottom it says Section 4 of this act will take effect in 2027. Why that date?
It's confusing, but if passed, the legislation, will take effect immediately or after the governor signs it. But it's only good till July of 27 because the community college system in New Hampshire wanted to evaluate its impact on their budget. So it's really it's good until July of 27. And then based upon that economic impact to the community college system, we'll evaluate it and then hopefully renew it for perpetuity.
Okay, so it's after the passage of the bill itself.
Yep.
It has a 5-year outdate.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Representative?
Yes, I'm Representative Lawton. Thanks for taking my question. So would this basically, if it gets passed and the governor signs it, will it have an immediate benefit upon people that have already done 6 years or something? Like, could somebody use it like right away?
Yeah. So, for example, if you're a service member, you've been hypothetically in for 10 years, you can then transfer to your spouse. I just want to clarify too. It's in the language that it's one or the other. The service member or the spouse, we're not double dipping. One person gets it or the other. So if the service member says, I got my undergraduate degree, I'll now transfer it to my spouse, and it has to be a spouse that's in the Department of Defense. We call it DEERS, the physical enrollment system. It just can't be arbitrarily like my significant other. It has to be a sort of registered spouse within the Department of Defense enrollment system.
Okay, any other questions for the general? Representative LeBranch?
Thank you for taking my question. My question is, why not expand it to also children of National Guard members as well instead of just spouses?
Excellent question. And so I'll give you an example. The first state to do this was Pennsylvania. They did about 2 or 3 years ago, and they did exactly that. They did it for both their spouses and their children. We specifically said no to the children. The reason why is 80% of new recruits come from a military family. So we want to cut off our nose in spite of our face. So that's a next, like, what's their incentive for those kids to join? And so that's why we purposely excluded military children.
Okay, are there any, Representative Rollins?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. What, is this a full boat scholarship? Is it just for 2 years or could it also be 4 years? It's a reimbursement, so it's just a tuition waiver. So no money ever sort of transaction ever occurs between, say, the university system or the community college system and ourselves. A student, a service member files a piece of paper, goes to that college, and they just waive the tuition. You still have to pay room and board and fees.
Yeah, General, I'm not gonna, I'm not asking any questions or anything like that because I'm a co-sponsor on this here. But anyways, can you explain to them, and then I'm gonna go back to Skip for follow-up on the space available that we have now in law so they understand what's there for National Guard?
Yeah, so initially, it was previously written that it was on a space available basis, that if the university system or community college system had space availability, they could just attend that class for that tuition waiver. 2 years ago, we struck that from the law. And the reason why is the recruiting market is really cutthroat. And we were losing market share to Massachusetts because they didn't have that sort of space availability waiver. So all we're trying to do is either maintain our competitive advantage over our sister states or an advantage. This gives us an advantage over our sister states that we, abut.
Thank you. Rep, did you have another follow-up?
Now, does that include up to 4 year waiver, 4 years or 2 years? Sir, we had an airman get his law degree through UNH at Manchester, or UNH, the campus here.
Are there any other questions for the General? Seeing none, thank you, General, for your testimony.
Thank you, sir.
Chair recognize Kevin Grady with the State Veterans Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen of the committee, good to see you again. For the record, my name is Kevin Grady. I am a 25-year veteran of our Air Force, and I'm a 22-year resident of the town of Hooksett, New Hampshire. Today, I'm here representing the State Veterans Advisory Committee. We debated this long and hard and talked about it. It was one of the more lively conversations we had. And then we all kind of realized that we need to get behind a bill like this because we think it's a win-win for New Hampshire. And the way I'll explain that is if in fact we have somebody who has finished their initial tour of enlistment and the opportunities are better somewhere else for their spouse or for themselves, that's probably where they're going to go. So we want to try and retain as many of these people as we possibly can. And if it turns out that the spouse is really in a better position, perhaps to finish a degree quicker and perhaps get a job in our local economy faster, that might allow us to retain that military person as well. The way this program is set up, every year in November, the Adjutant General is going to get a report from the university system as to how many people actually use this benefit. And so by doing this for the 3 years, the reason this thing sunsets in 2027, well, 5 years, I guess now, is that we're going to be able to have a chance to look at this program and see what the true cost is. When this was done in the Senate, the university system was behind the idea because it's either the member or the spouse that's eligible to use this, not both of them at the same time. So a person attending a class is a person sitting in a seat attending a class, whether that's the member or the spouse, doesn't really affect them all of that much. The final thing that I'll give you, just try to bring this to life a little bit in terms of the retention part of all of this for the general. If I take somebody and let me do what I know, which is Air Force stuff. Let's say we have an airman who is a boom operator on our KC-46s over at Pease. If that person decides after their initial 6-year commitment to go ahead and leave the military, or maybe that person decides that the benefits are better in another state and they're going to ziggy over there and take that same benefit in another state, then we lose that person's expertise and all the time and effort and training that we throw into that person. Now, General Michaelitis can assess another boom operator and we can train that person. And on paper, when we're finished with that transaction, we got the same number of boom operators that we had the other day. But as I like to say, we traded away Big Poppy for Marv Throneberry. Okay, we traded away somebody that has a lot of experience and can pass that experience on to our younger folks for somebody who is going to have to be the beneficiary of somebody else transferring their experience to them. So we wholeheartedly support this bill, and subject to your questions, really, that's all I want to tell you this morning.
Okay.
Thank
you, Kevin. Are there any questions for Kevin? Seeing none, thank you, Kevin. I'd like to bring up General Michaelitis back up here for a minute, if I can. General, can you explain to the committee the difference between so they understand the yellow ribbon new GI Bill versus this program here? And I'm not asking a question so nobody gets confused because I am a sponsor. I already know the answer. But explain them the difference here. Is there a conflict? Is there not? Whereas if the GI Bill, you're getting paid money to go to school and it can be shared with your kids versus this here.
So, sir, just correct me if I think I know where you're going. So say the Montgomery GI Bill. So what happens if you go on active duty and you serve 2, 3, 4 years, 10 years, whatever, the federal government picks up the tab for you to go to college in very general terms. This is complementary, right? So that is a federal, it's a federal program that only our soldiers who have either A, they had served on active duty initially, or B, they were activated or deployed, they accrue that federal service time and then can use that GI Bill. This is more for the traditional sort of, so 2/3 to 3/4 of our force just are part-time. So of the 2,800 soldiers and airmen we have in the New Hampshire National Guard, both Army and Air, about 70% of them are part-time. Traditional soldiers and airmen who go through the basic training, come to us, serve their week in a month. This is really for them. I mean, everyone can use this, but it's almost a complementary educational benefit versus a replacement. And in generally speaking, you have to use your Montgomery GI Bill first if you have both before you use this.
Okay, did everyone understand on that system there? Because this really will benefit the young soldiers coming in for retention. You know what I mean? To maintain and be able to re-enlist and stuff. But I don't see it being used a lot because of the ones, all the veterans that served overseas. Their dependents could use that money, and the college systems are going to get paid. You know, through the federal government, Montgomery.
So think of it like this. You know, the data says most service members get out at 9 years. And why do they get out at 9 years? So let's just do some simple math in a way. Say you join at 20, you're now 29, 30 years old. What happens when you're 30? You're most likely, if you're part-time with us, you're established in your civilian job, and you're probably starting a family. And guess what? Those week in a month is like sort of a drain on you. You're like, you know, what comes first, my civilian job or my part-time job? What comes first, my family or going to my week in a month? So this is huge to retention. So when we talk about military families and what we sort of do for the support of them, you know, this is the enticement to say, hey, your spouse can say, like, hey, dummy, I can go to school now. And the Secretary of the Army came to New Hampshire about a year or two ago and met the governor. And one of his lines or topics was to the governor was, he goes, sir, don't you understand the military is the escalator to the middle class? We're all about education. Blue collar, white collar, we're all about educational opportunities for building a better workforce and a better citizen. That's the why. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Everyone understand, I brought that up so you understand the breakdown of this here coming from the general there. Okay. All right, thank you, General. Are there anyone else out here that wants to speak on this, bill? SB 360? Seeing none, I'm gonna go ahead and, close the hearing on this. We are gonna exec this at 11 o'clock. I have two other reps that are coming back in, Representative DeLumis and Mark Pearson are gonna sit in for Representative Dave Lundgren, and we'll exec it at that time. So it shouldn't be long, you know what I mean, it'd be real quick exec. Thank you.
I do not accept the comparison.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Good. We have a quorum. Okay, I'm going to open up the executive session on SB 360. And Mr. Are you ready with your paperwork and stuff too, right?
I believe so. Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
And I believe Representative Moffett, you had a motion to make?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I would like to move OTP ought to pass on SB 360.
Thank you. And the clerk second that, I heard you say?
I second that.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, thank you. Would you like to speak to your motion there, Representative Moffett?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd simply like to say that this seems to be a very positive recruiting retention measure that the Senate has sent to us. General Michaelitis explained in detail how this would help spouses, male or female, to go back and use this tuition waiver benefit to take classes. So yes, the recruitment, retention, education, all good in my view.
Awesome. Anyone else want to speak on the bill?
I
see
just
it.
had a question, Mr. Chairman, right
Yes.
here, about lack of a fiscal note. Is it because the federal government's going to cover the entire program, including administration?
Well, actually, there's no money. This is these are seats that the colleges are giving up. So there's no money coming from the state.
Okay, so the state doesn't cover any administration?
No,
no-
because they're already getting money from the budget.
Okay,
So that's why there's no fiscal note on this here. If in the hearing there, I asked the general there to explain to everyone there on the education, on the different programs that are out there. Most in today's society with veterans, like he said, most veterans, and just like in that society, don't get married for 10 years. You know, I mean, till the age 30. And matter of fact, they're having 1 or 2 kids if they're lucky. But the first 6 years, many veterans are single. A lot of veterans on active duty do show up with young girls that are pregnant. You know what I mean? In my time that I've seen over and over. That's why I spoke out on the marriage thing, you know, and protecting them young girls so they can get the benefits to have kids and everything. But this here bill is a win-win for more and more spouses, whether it be male or female of a veteran, to get educated. And it just makes New Hampshire that much better, and it retains the National Guard and Air National Guard to stay longer than just a 6-year program. So they have to do another 4 years. So it's a win-win for us here. So, as there's, yes,
question. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just wondering, what was the rationale from the sponsors of just limiting this to spouses and not expanding it to
Well,
children? Was it just to see
yeah,
how the cost would?
because if you give it to the children there, then why would they want to join the military and get a, you know, and go to school for nothing?
Fair.
That's the reason why. The GI Bill now on the yellow ribbon program that they passed there, that they could be transferred to children if the veteran does not use it. So that one, but you have to be deployed to a war or you know, into another either a base or something for so many months or whatever. So, okay. Anything else on this bill? Okay, seeing that, I'll ask the clerk to take a roll call. As ought to pass, as SB 360.
Representative Moffett,
Aye.
Representative Pearson,
Yes.
Representative Katsouris.
No.
Absent. Representative Rollins.
Yes.
Representative Delanis, yes. Representative Binford. Representative Foster.
Yes.
Representative Deshay.
Aye.
Representative Harley. I did. Yes. I was looking at you. I thought you said Marty. I better be careful with my words then. Representative Levitt. Absent. Representative Massimilla. Yes. Representative Piedra. Representative Boras. Absent. Thank you. Representative Wilhelm.
Yes.
You. Representative Espitia. Absent. Representative Griffin. Thank you. Representative Toll. Okay, so sorry about this, you guys. I'm just.
I had no clue they
Representative
they weren't
LaBranch.
coming.
LaBranch.
Yes.
You. Representative Lawton.
Yes.
And Representative Volkowitz.
Yes.
And your chair,
Okay.
your chair.
Oh.
Yes.
Representative Baldessaro.
Yes.
It would be appropriate for me to do that.
Mhm. Where we at?
Hurry up, Delamis. We got to
13?
get back to
I
my
know, I
committee.
know.
13.
13.
Okay, 13 and 9. Without any objection, we put this on the consent calendar. Oh, so be, okay. I will close the hearing on SB, the executive session on SB 360. And thank you to Representative Pearson and, okay. He's already working on the blurb, for the,
It's actually done.
it's actually done.